This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
You got to pick Jesus or your child. Excuse me, what? That does not feel like the God of the Bible that I have read about and that I have been following. You can hold on to your faith, but dang, you got to hold on to your child. And you can do both without compromising one or the other.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free, safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, a suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser, and what a lovely show it is again this week. Hey, do you know a gay person? Is that gay person tight with their parents? Did their parents accept them? My guest this week is Kim Stilp. She has a very strong faith, very much so a Christian. And years ago, her son came out as gay, and it was pretty tough for both of them. Kim has started a group called Pride and Promises, and it helps parents who have strong faiths. She helps those parents with gay children to hold on to their children and their relationship, but at the same time also hold on to their faith. So she's going to talk about her relationship with her son and how all that came about, and about Pride and Promises. So let's jump into it. Without further ado, I give you Kim.
We are just the quintessential family of five, right? Like my husband and I are raising kids. We had 3 kids in 3.5 years. So we went from a couple of 2 to a family of 5 in under 5 years. So we were busy, but we were having a blast. It was my favorite thing in the world to be a mom. And my kids are awesome. And we did the homeschool thing for a number of years. And then Connor's our firstborn. He went to high school, and because we were like, I don't want to mess with credits and get all that stuff. So we saw him go into high school, loving school, super involved, was very well received, very well liked, really. I mean, we were just getting all these great comments about conferences, like he's so involved and he's really well loved here. And then we saw this like a trend down, where he started struggling and started to rebel. We wondered, like, what is going on? He started getting bullied really intensely.
When you say rebel, what was he doing?
A lot of back talk. Wasn't coming home when he was supposed to be coming home, started to drink, was starting to use substances we didn't know at the time, but right, like, because you're in denial, can't be my kid, I can't be that family. And so you think, oh, it's all related to all this bullying. And he went down so far. Then, he found his group of friends, and that group of friends was dangerous because it got further into, had a kid say, hey, you got ADHD, you can sell your meds. Ended up giving his meds to someone at school who was going to sell them for him. We, thank the Lord, we found out immediately, like before anything happened. But then we have this terrible decision, like, our son just did this really dangerous thing and he doesn't realize the consequences that could happen. So we went to the school, we went to the police, and we did this whole, like, it was hard.
Are you in a big city or a small town, or?
No, small. I mean, so the town we were in was small. We're in a area of about 75,000 people, but this was a small community just outside that at this point.
Midwestern.
What's
Midwestern?
That?
I take it.
Midwest, Wisconsin. Typical Wisconsinites, right?
I could tell by your accent.
Yeah, I know. I can't help it. I can never escape it.
You called me Tad.
Tad. I probably did. And I say big.
Anyway.
Anyway, we just were seeing all of these really big struggles and depression. And then he was just falling into this really scary place. And of course, we're thinking it's all related to being bullied because he was getting shoved into lockers. His books were getting taken out of his backpack and thrown around. He was getting stuffed into lockers. He had a table shoved into him, left a huge bruise in his chest. And so we're thinking all of this stuff is related to being bullied. And it got so bad, of course, then there were attempts on his life.
From him?
Suicide attempts, correct. And we just said, Connor, we got to get you out of here. Like, this is not good. It's not healthy for you. And so we actually sent him to a place for struggling teens. It wasn't this like get up in the middle of the night and rip you from your bed, go. It was, we
Right.
talked to him and said, this is not healthy for you. And we have exhausted all of the counseling here. We've done everything with school. We have tried everything. And so he went to a place for struggling teens. It was just before his 17th birthday. So he spent all of 17 there. He did disclose to them at that point that he was struggling with same-sex attraction, but they didn't tell us. He didn't tell us. It wasn't until he was 22 years old that he finally came out to us.
Wow.
Because
Poor
he
guy.
was shrouded in shame and didn't know. I remember the counseling appointment we had because we would go down to this facility. We never went more than 6 weeks without seeing each other. He would either come home or we would go to him. And the appointment that we had that he was going to disclose to us fell apart. He didn't even want to see us that weekend. Like, we're traveling on planes. This is a big deal. We're spending a lot of money to get to him. And he just couldn't do it. And of course,
Was this facility, was it faith-based?
they would say yes. There was not a lot of biblical foundational intentionality when the kids were there, but it was a faith-based, yes, we love God, but we don't judge anybody here.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, he obviously felt comfortable enough to come out and talk to them about.
Yes, his counselors were amazing. He had some really, really wonderful people walking beside him. So that was helpful. I wouldn't recommend the facility as a whole, but a few individuals were incredible. So they thought that he was going to share with us. And we had started suspecting that he was struggling with sexuality. And this was 10 years ago, right? So we didn't have language. We didn't have resources. We had nothing to help us because at that point you're thinking, if I ask my child if he's struggling, then I feel like I'm accusing him of being gay. And what 17-year-old kid wants to be accused of being gay? Like, that's a relationship deal breaker too. So we were really stuck and we didn't have language. We didn't have support or understanding. We didn't have resources. And so it was just too hard for him at that point because he was afraid he was going to lose his family. And that risk was too great. So rather than disclose to his family, he carries depression, anxiety, shame, fear, suicidality, attempts on his own life. It's terrifying and it breaks my heart. And when he finally did come out to us, it was an explosion of fear and anger. And I'm gay. And if you think you're going to pray the gay away, you're not going to do this. And I just said to him, Connor, stop. Stop. You're telling me that you're gay? Yes. And I said, okay, I love you, period. That's all I need you to know. And I probably said too many nervous words after that, but I just wanted him to know nothing changes. I loved you 5 minutes ago. I love you now. I'm going to love you still. And I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what I'm doing or where to go, but I'll figure it out. We are going to do this together.
So this is something I've heard. And it was I'm from a small town in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Sure.
And a local person wrote a letter to our newspaper. And anyway, the whole point of their article was love the sin. No, I screwed that up.
I got
hate
you.
the sin, love the sinner. As a sinner, quote unquote sinner, that doesn't seem that helpful.
It's not at all, because and let's just unpack that sin for a minute. Love the sinner, hate the sin. Hi, I'm in the club. And so I think as Christians, when we apply gospel love to people, somehow we tie the gospel to sexuality. And I'm not saying it is not important, but the gospel is not about sexuality. The gospel is about Jesus. The gospel is about what Jesus did on the cross for sinners. Hello, welcome. That's you. That's me. That's my LGBT kid and everybody else who lives and breathes. And so that is where faith and gospel and LGBT, and that gets to be a giant storm for a lot of people. And love the sin, hate the sinner says, I love you, but. And we need to say, I love you, period. That's where we start. And let's unpack this. Let's figure out how you got here. Help me. If we don't understand one another, and if we don't start asking questions rather than just saying, this is what the Bible says, and this is what you need to fall in line to, and this is how we're going to cure it, that isn't helpful. That creates more relational damage. And then we get into this chronic relational storm that never really helps anybody. And a lot of times when kids in Christian homes come out, guess what happens? Parents go into the closet. And now the parents are carrying shame. And we have to say, I'm not ashamed of you. I'm not ashamed of our story. I'm not ashamed of wherever this leads. And if we navigate and land in different places on how we draw conclusions about what the Bible says, that doesn't change the value of a human being. And we have to get back to understanding the value of a human being. There is tension between grace and truth, but love has no boundaries. And we have to go there, because there are some people, there's biblical sexuality. People ascribe to one man, one woman within marriage. That's where sex exists. There are other people who have done legitimate research, have read scriptures, have unpacked things, have gone to historical, people go to the Greek and Aramaic and all the languages of history, and they say, well, that's what this really meant. This is how I understand it.
Right. Yeah, this thing was translated 2,000 years ago.
Right. And so if that's where you are, if that's what you believe, and you say, I have a relationship with the Lord, I know Jesus loves me, I know who am I to say what your relationship with the Lord looks like? That's between you and him. Let's agree on the things we can agree on, and let's differ on the things we differ on without ruining relationship, and then navigate that together, because influence lies within relationship, doesn't it? If we stand on two sides of the street and we scream at each other, I'm right and you're wrong, regardless of who's saying what words, if I'm on the left and you're on the right, or vice versa, different sides of the street, we are never going to come to understand one another. And then we just spew more hate, and we cast more shame, and we have these mental health crises where kids believe I'm wrong, my parents are right, and they're going to judge me forever. And my brain and my heart can't handle that.
Or I'm right, my parents are wrong, and now I'm full of resentment and shame that I hate my parents or whatever. Yeah. And it's not good at whatever it is.
No, and I don't know about you, but I have never met any person who does not want to be validated and loved and received by their parents. I don't care if you're adopted and you have had the best two parents, one parent, whatever in your world that you possibly could have had. There's a longing to, why did you reject me? I want you to love me. I have friends who have adopted children out of horrific situations, terrible abuse where the children needed rescue. Those kids still want to be loved by their birth biological parents. So there is this need for children to be loved. And, you know, you can look at the statistics of kids who struggle with mental health issues in LGBT worlds, add a dose of faith to it, and we jump exponentially in those crises. And so we have to look at that and say, how is this helping or hurting my child? And am I going to give my child space to ask hard questions? You know, I've talked with Conner and said, this is how I read the text. I can't find it. That doesn't mean I like it. That doesn't mean it's easy. We have to go as Christians to say, the Bible doesn't say all these things that I love. Like, I'm choosing obedience based on relationship. But if you're not choosing that level of obedience, I'm not a better sinner. I'm not a better human being. I'm not. And if we stand here and we continue to cast shame on people that we think differently from, pretty soon we're going to be on an island all by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people that are have strong faith, whatever it is, it's like black and white. There's absolutely no gray. There's no middle. It's like wrong or right. And if you are gay, or if you do this, or if you do that, doesn't matter what the intentions are, circumstances are, you're wrong.
I think there are a lot of people who think that and are unwilling to have conversations. Just post something on Facebook once.
No.
One time. You will find the vitriol, and you will find, but and that's the people I'm talking about on both sides. I will not align with the 10% on either side of the argument. I'm not interested in talking to either of you because you're unwilling to say, hey, how'd you get there? And if we can't ask that question, if we cannot empathize with people that we differ from, or that we believe something different, you know, our basis of belief system is different, nothing changes. And so I'm not interested in that. And I will say there are wonderful people in faith communities who will come alongside people and they will say, I love you right here where you are. And I'm not here to change you. I am here to do life on life with you. And based on that relationship, we become curious about each other. Like, I've asked questions of people I never would have had I not been given the invitation to be involved in their life. And I wouldn't understand. And if I want you to listen to me, I've got to be willing to listen to you. Because relationships one-way relationships are not fun. We check out of them. Right? Like when we're little, we have little children. Yes, we're the authorities and the authoritarians and we call the shots. But if we don't move with our children into relationship, kids are gone. If parents want to remain in that authoritative spot, you don't move into that friendship phase. You move into estrangement. And so, yes, I believe that there are people who, black and white, we're not going to talk about it. And that creates an unhealthy space for people. And I think a lot of it is the people who are holding such a hard line and refuse to talk to anybody are dealing with their own pride that they don't even realize. And I tell you what, Todd, this journey has really made me look at my sin, my pride, my love. Like, we all love conditionally. Whether we admit it or not, we love with condition. We put everyone under our umbrella of whatever we will and we won't accept, right? But when you start looking at your own shortcomings, and if you are going to categorize as a believer sin, it's a sobering journey to say, what about me made me believe that I am better than you? And we do that all the time with each other. And I think that's half of the reason counselors' offices are full of people, like just trying to undo bad relationships based on bad and horrible treatment of people.
Yeah, we get these belief systems ingrained in us, and it's like we have to deprogram ourselves before we can reprogram ourselves in a way.
Yeah, and it's a journey. And I think a lot of parents, because we live in truth, here's the truth of the Bible. I'm not faulting. I share the whole foundational gospel of who Jesus is, and that's what I want to get people back to. Like when I'm having these big, hard conversations with Connor, he takes it back to sexuality and God doesn't believe gay is wrong. And I'm like, okay, let's take that off the table. Let's go back to who is Jesus and does he matter? Did he exist? Did he live? Did he die? Did he rise again? Did he go to heaven? Let's ask that question, right? Because if you're going to argue and be mad, I asked him the other day, I said, there are Christians who have a relationship with the Lord and they say, my faith is intact. I love the Lord. I have faith in Jesus. I'm going to heaven. And I said, those people have drawn the conclusion based on whatever research they have done that God affirms homosexuality. Okay, fine. So if you believe that God says homosexuality is not wrong, what are you mad about? And he was like, huh. And I said, here's what I think. I think you're mad at people who ascribe to biblical sexuality, judge you for it, and treat you horribly for it. That's what you're mad about. Don't be mad at God. Ask him questions. Start digging through that and go, what about this matters? And how does that apply to my life? And it's really, it's teaching all of us to really think about what we think about and what we believe and how we see people and what goggles are we putting on. And I think we have to lay it all back down and say, I'm going to start over. I'm going to ask questions. What is real love? If we believe in a holy God who made mankind, why are we mistreating each other so poorly? We can't do that as believers. It's a terrible representation of the gospel. We're damaging people, and we can deliver our belief system and share that with people in love. And we can say, tell me about your belief system.
Would you say it's hypocritical?
Yeah. Wouldn't you?
Good. Yeah, definitely. I know all types of people that they're mucky mucks in the church, and they're some of the most immoral people I've ever met.
Well, right. I mean, how many? Okay, and we've seen it, right? Like we've seen the fall of big people. Like we're preaching the gospel on Sunday, and then our life fell apart because of infidelity, and it's all over. Like we are all struggling with something. We're all struggling. If it wasn't this, it'd be something else, And so we have to take the stigma and shame out of this equation. And we have to help parents understand, when I said to Connor, my goal is to help parents walk beside their children. You can hold the tension of grace and truth. And he said, forget the parents. You got to help the kids, Mom. And I'm like, okay, back up for a minute. Yes, that is true. We have got to reach out. I wish I had, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think by helping the parents, you are helping the children?
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, hold up. Yes, I want to have an open door. If I could have a soft place for anyone who is rejected by their family to lay their head, my house would be it. But if we help the parents, we no longer have children in crisis, because we help parents say, hey, there are ways. I don't have a perfect formula, Todd. I'm not pretending to have the corner on truth. But what I do know is you.
You're not enlightened?
I'm not enlightened. I'm not, no. I am just a mom who says, I want to walk beside other parents to say, you can do this. Please don't reject your children. My son has lost friends to suicide. I can't tell you how devastating that is. There are not words to describe it. And when parents drive their children away and they end up literally contemplating their own lives, we can do better. I'm sorry, we can do better.
And I like that you mentioned that it's not even just about faith. It can be about anything that's like whether it's politics or whatever. We can just all do better and just listen to each other and still love and support each other, judgment free. You can disagree. I mean, I've talked to all types of people on the podcast here that I would never have the opportunity to talk to in life otherwise.
Right.
And it's amazing. And like, I don't know if you know the comedian George Carlin. He always says that individuals are amazing. Groups are bad. So when you get this group thought in an individual, you can still sit down and connect and be one-on-one.
You know, I remember years ago when, not Osama bin Laden, Iraq.
Oh, Saddam Hussein.
Yes, Saddam Hussein was captured. They had CIA, FBI, somebody spent hours and hours and hours and hours interviewing him, like inside government. And he said he was belligerent and hate-filled and screamed at me and shut down. He would not talk to me. And he said, after I just kept going in and talking and breaking down walls and barriers. And he said, at the end of all of that, yes, we had a leader who was terrible and destructive and right. I mean, I'm not just, but he said, underneath all of that, there was a human being. And only I got to see that because the world knows the leader of terror. And after we broke it down, and you know what did that? Time, relationship, empathy. And I'm not justifying anything he did. I'm just saying when we spend time with people, we learn who they are. And that's where influence is granted. And so you get this federal government, agent who is after a terrorist and trying to save a whole bunch of people going, we have to go after bad. But then you go down and you reduce it to the human being and go, somewhere beneath there, between all of this, there's a human being. And I think too many people are unwilling to see that because I'm over here and you're over here. And we have got to teach parents how to communicate with their children, how to see their children. And like kids are so much more than a sexual identity. Every human being is, right? Like, and I'm sorry, but if I stand before God today, I don't think the first question he asks me is, who did you have sex with while you were on earth? It's just not.
Oh, thank God.
and right, I mean, like, is that number 125 on the list? I don't know. Or is it 3? It's not 1. Number 1 is, how did you perceive and receive my son? Do you understand that I loved you? Do you understand that I'm holy and just? Like, there's a whole lot of things that are not going to focus on that one element. So when I created Pride and Promises, my goal is to really, A, keep kids alive, B, equip parents and help them understand you can hold on to your faith, but dang, you got to hold on to your child. And you can do both without compromising one or the other. And I think a lot of people, like, we were given some bad, you got to pick Jesus or your child. Excuse me, what? That does not feel like the God of the Bible that I have read about and that I have been following. or advice for like, God gave me this child and now I'm going to turn no, that's terrible advice.
I'm trying to think of Jesus doing that to someone.
If Jesus knocked on my front door and my son was in my house, he wouldn't say, you leave, I'm having dinner with her. He'd probably look at me and say, Connor and I are going to have dinner together. Go take a walk. Like, you know what I mean? But Jesus dined with the people that the Pharisees and society rejected. He went after those people. You know, the parable of the lost sheep is not lost on me. Sometimes I'm the lost sheep. We want to point fingers like, yeah, I'll go get that. But he leaves 99 people who think, feel, love like he does and says, that one, I want to talk to that one. And so if Jesus is going to go talk to that one, then I'm going to go talk to that one too. And I'm going to help parents say, you can do this. And sometimes literally it's one conversation at a time. Whether I will give credit to some families. Some parents handle this beautifully and kids have the security of their homes. But I thought that Pete and I created that for Connor. And he was terrified. He spent every single one of his teenage years in the closet without us knowing. And that is what made me sad, honestly. It wasn't the fact that my son said to me, I'm gay. It made me sad to go, am I that kind of believer? Am I that kind? You're in my club if you behave this way, and you're out of my club if you behave that way?
Well, apparently it wasn't all you either. I mean, that was in his head from going to church all the time too, and it was
for sure.
Yeah. It wasn't just you guys. For
sure. But like home is where you're supposed to have all the security, regardless of what is happening around the world. But yes, you're right. The messages, even from school, from society, from church, from everywhere. And so my heart is really to help families, not undo their faith. That is not my goal. Like I still have a Christian faith, but I think a lot of times Christians are also afraid to ask hard questions. This is the lane, stay in the lane. And I'm a rule follower, a peacemaker, a peacekeeper. So for me to I don't want to step up. I don't want to disappoint the Lord. I don't want to misrepresent scripture. That is my heart for sure. But if I'm not willing to go with my son and go, Mom, this doesn't make sense. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And God made me this. I didn't choose this. I believe him. A lot of believers will not believe that. I didn't choose heterosexuality. I was just attracted to guys. So I believe my son when he says that. What do we do with that? And if I don't go to him and say, you know what, Connor, this is hard. I don't understand it. Singleness feels unfair, right? Like if God says, I made man for woman and be fruitful and multiply, and then he calls people to singleness, that feels a little unfair. And we're afraid to say that as Christians because don't challenge God. Well, if I can't take my questions and my fears and my concerns and my angst to him, then who is he really? Who are we just serving a genie who's going to cast down good and bad based on behavior? Or is he someone secure enough to say, ask me and let's go there. And I will speak to the heart of the matter. And I think some Christians are just afraid to go there because it doesn't look like it's in its pretty Christian box.
Yeah, I think that's really incredible that you can adapt your faith to circumstances. It's not set in stone. I mean, the 10 Commandments apparently are.
Right.
But, over 2,000 years, things may have been lost in translation, including the empathy and just, everything else. And I mean, I know people that even in the same, say, Lutheran or whatever, have widely different opinions because of who their minister, or I don't know if,
sure.
Do Lutherans have ministers?
Pastors, ministers, reverends, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, because they grew up with different leaders. So, I mean, things can get so muddled up. There's so much nuance, and I can see why Connor would have some anger issues perhaps, or some resentment, maybe not towards God, but towards religion, because it's not consistent. And it's not, it's a lot of nuance and a lot of things like intentions and all these things. So I don't know where I was going with that. I sometimes start something.
I think people are inconsistent, right? I mean, look at,
For sure, yeah.
This is why we have so many denominations, and every single one of them believes that they're right. And some of them are like, I'm right and you're wrong. Now, some churches obviously establish their bylaws and their belief systems based on how they interpret scripture. And I don't care if you baptize a baby or an adult. I don't care if you sprinkle water or you immerse someone. That is not heaven and hell to me. I don't care if you wear dresses and makeup or not, or braid your hair or grow it. I don't care. I don't care if you pierce everything, you tattoo everything. We get all of these things off of the gospel. Like, if you are in a Christian Bible, whether you are a Lutheran, a Catholic, a Protestant, Episcopalian, Jesus is the same. Jesus and history, not just the Bible, lots of history books validate the existence of Christ. So let's go there. Let's have that conversation and not forget. I don't want to throw everything right. It's important. My faith is important to me. Understanding what God wants of me for my personal life is important to me. How I live that out. I mean, spank your kids. Don't spank your kids. People use the Bible for, no, love gently. No, spoil the rod, spare the child. So we get to fighting each other, which is probably really what the devil wants. If you believe in heaven and hell and good and evil, that's the stuff of the devil trying to mess with all of us, going, yeah, just take any focus off of who the Lord is, and then I got you. I don't need to worry about anything else. And so, I don't know. Yes, you can take a lot of prophecies, a lot of Bible, a lot of truth, and say, this connects to that, and this connects to that, and this has come to pass. And yes, do I believe a lot? Yes. Do I know when Jesus is coming back? No. Is pre-millennial, mid-trib, post-trib? I mean, there's all kinds of things we can fight about. Mm-hmm. And people lump sexuality and all that. I'm right about this and you're wrong about this. And then we just stop having conversation, and our kids are falling through the cracks. Mm-hmm. And kids are leaving faith in droves because people aren't willing to say, let's talk, instead of I'm right, you're wrong. Come to me when you get it all figured out, and then there's a place for you. The church is for the broken, and I'm broken.
Right. Yeah. These are all great points. I think back to when I was going to AA meetings. I'm in recovery about 8 years.
Congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you. In AA and even in treatment, it's a spiritual program, not a religious program. So they really encourage you to find some kind of spirituality. And the people that had the hardest time finding spirituality were people that were raised in a religion, in church of some type.
Why do you think that is?
Because they had so much resentment towards the church. Imagine, so it'd be like if Connor found alcohol. I don't know, maybe, did Connor struggle with substances?
We thought he was going to drink himself to death the year before he came out.
So imagine him in AA, and they're saying, hey, you got to find, they do use the word God sometimes in AA. I think Connor would probably have a really hard time with the word God and all that, because part of why he's drinking and why he's in this situation is because of the church. So then people dug their heels in, and the people that had an easier time, like myself, I've never was raised any kind of faith or anything. Spirituality to me is not religion, not rules, and all these things. So I don't know what my point was.
Well, are there people, I'm going to say like me, right? Okay. If I'm in your AA meeting, are you feeling like I'm there shaming you, like I'm a better alcoholic because I have God? And
no.
Or do you think
No, it was no
who
problem for
don't-
me. It was the people that were raised in church that really dug their heels in and did not want to find that. They hated the whole God part of AA and the 12 steps and
Interesting.
yeah. And
That's
no,
very
I never
curious.
felt judged ever in an AA meeting. You know, some people eventually came around, but a lot of people that I was in AA with were in early recovery. So a lot of people in early recovery have struggled with all types of stuff. But I found that the spirituality thing was probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people, especially those that were raised religious.
Do you know why I think that could be?
Why?
Shame. So much shame. And really, if you peel back the layers of shame, it's pride. We're too proud to admit that. And especially Christians shouldn't struggle with substance abuse. Why would you why not? Why not? You know, like we're all human beings. And so I believe you. I bet you there is a bigger hurdle to overcome because you walk in there and you say, I struggle with alcohol and I want to overcome this and I can dig deep, versus someone coming with a faith who carries shame on their back. You got to get through a whole lot of that before you can even start to do the real work.
Right.
And I think that's the same with LGBTQ, right? We have got to shed the shame and peel that off our backs, because the more you carry that, the heavier it becomes and the harder it becomes to overcome. So I guess now that you're saying that, that doesn't surprise me that much, because shame is a beast.
Well, I mean, these people weren't like practicing either. Like it was like they were raised in the church because they were by force by their parents or whatever. You know, I mean, it's not like they had a strong, healthy.
Okay. So
faith.
More anger than shame?
I think partly anger, shame and resentment and anger. And they saw maybe because of their parents' beliefs, the damage, you know, kind of what we're talking about now. But instead of LGBTQ, it's about substance abuse or whatever. Or
Right.
some people were, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, some people were sexually abused by people in the church. Some of them,
Certainly.
or trauma, some kind of trauma around faith or whatever. So again, it was like they almost had to deprogram before they could reprogram, where I didn't have to deprogram because I wasn't raised one way or another in any kind of faith. So I came in fresh.
Yeah. And I think some people believe like, oh yeah, you're programmed to believe this.
Right.
And I didn't I was raised in a family where my parents took us to church, but we didn't really talk about church was a Sunday thing. And I was not abused. Two-parent home. I had a great childhood. I had a great upbringing. Faith was not a strong part, other than like my parents took us and believed, but we didn't really live it out. We didn't read the Bible together. We prayed for dinner. We didn't, and when I went to college, I was just looking for more. And so I started a faith journey, and Pete and I, when we got married, got involved in church. And so I wasn't programming my children. I found a lot of comfort. I found a lot of guidance. I found a lot of hope. And I believed it. And so, yes, we raised our children with biblical foundational beliefs. If I did it over again, I would still take my children to church. I would still present the gospel. I would have offered more room to ask questions, because I'm a rule follower and a peacekeeper. When I didn't have a lot of that guidance growing up, it was like, I found it. Here it is. I want to share this with you. We've got guidelines. And so that was really comforting to my personality type, right? But in doing so, we kept the road too narrow, and then accidentally and unintentionally cast shame on our kids if they had questions, or if they, right? Like you grow up, even our girls, right? Purity culture, well, all of our kids. But my daughter said, Mom, I am not sorry that I saved my most precious gift of sexuality for my husband, but undoing that, like, you're married now, you have all the freedom in the world, turn it on. She's like, undoing the shame based on sexuality and modesty and my responsibility not to make men fall, like all the, like we said those things, right? Like not too low a shirt, not too short a skirt, because don't tempt people and cause men to fail. That's a lot of pressure. So would I still raise my children in the church? Do I still ascribe to biblical sexuality? Jesus is Lord. Yes, I ascribe to all those things. But you know what I'm doing a whole lot differently is saying, you don't believe this? Tell me about it. Help me understand. And when I become curious about someone else, they become curious about me. And maybe we don't ever see eye to eye. But if we were here and now we're here, now at least I can say, hey, this is an awesome person. And someone else can say, she's not so bad either. Like, don't judge her for who she is, get to know her.
And that narrowness is now slightly wider.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you said when you were raising the kids, it seemed like unintentionally it was a narrow kind of view.
Yeah. And it's not compromising the word. I am not trying to malign my belief system or the word of God. That is not my intent at all. But I thought Jesus lived here, and I'm going, you know what? Jesus lives here. Arms wide open, nails in both hands. That's how wide the road is. And I need, if I'm going to ascribe to the Jesus of the Bible, I have to be like Jesus of the Bible and say, I love you. I care about you. My door is open. There's always a soft place for you to fall. And I want to talk. I want to learn, and I want to walk beside you. And I'm going to love you. And that's what that's my heart of heart, is making sure that people in Connor's world hear me say, I love you, period. I love you, period. You are welcome in my home. There is space at my table every day of the week. And I want to help parents say, start there. Because establishing a faith identity it's a journey. It is not a declaration. You're going to do this. It's not. And if we don't start understanding one another, then I'm not sure why I created Pride and Promises.
So talk a little bit about Pride and Promises and what it is and how people can find it.
So it's exactly that. It is resources for Christian parents navigating faith when their children come out, or just walking beside LGBTQ kids, saying you can hold on to your faith while you hold on to your child. So I started, it's prideandpromises.com, just online.
Sorry.
Yes. Prideandpromises.com. How do I say it?
That's great.
Calm.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. See, now that sounds like the word calm to me, but whatever. And I have lots of blogs that just offer perspective, like read through it and just lay a foundation beneath your feet. I have a free conversation starters, like where do I begin? And then I also have a workbook, and we do some community coaching. I offer one-on-one help for parents who are just really feeling stuck, to say, we can do this, but we have to start. And you can start today, even if you blew it with your child, because I know that there have been some explosions when kids disclose. And whether your child left your home because you made them, or they left because of shame or broken relationship or whatever reason, we can start some repair work and we can build relationship with our children. We can keep our faith primary for us, but we cannot demand it of our children. We have to represent gospel love well and go after our kids with that kind of love and tenacity, not with the clobber of truth. The Bible is not a weapon. And sometimes we have to set it down because it feels like a weapon to our children and say, I'm coming hands open. I'm not, because if I'm coming with a Bible, a Bible feels like a gun to a lot of people. And we have to say, I am going to put this over here and I'm going to reach out to you. It's almost like, you got to renegotiate. Like when someone's trying to de-escalate a situation. The Bible feels like a weapon to people. And we can't wield it and say, it's not a weapon. It's not a weapon. It doesn't matter what I'm telling you. If your perception is the Bible is a weapon, then that is your reality. So put the weapon down for a moment. It doesn't mean because you set it down, it doesn't exist. The Bible still exists, and all the truth of the words that you set aside for a moment still exist. But now it gives you a gateway to reach into your child and say, I got you. So that's what I want to help parents do. That's my hope.
Parenting is tough.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
I could say the most wonderful, amazing things to my kids, but because I said it,
100%.
So it's like,
Yes.
God damn it, I can't win even when I'm trying my best to be understanding or sympathetic or empathetic.
Okay, so here's another thing that parents just cannot let go of. They think when they have an LGBT kid, it's my job. I have to pound the truth into you, and they cannot release it. And you know what, Todd? I have 3 adult children now. Connor's going to be 30 on Saturday. We're going to Chicago to celebrate. But it is no longer me who is the greatest influence and the person of admonishment and mentorship in their lives.
Right.
They have other people in their lives who can speak to them and they will listen to. And I, as a parent, have to be okay with that. Like, you are an adult, and my parents aren't my best confidants. My prayer tribe is. I've got my people. My parents don't know all the deepest, darkest secrets of my life. My friends, my mentors do. And we have got to trust the Lord to provide other people to our children to speak into their lives and to catch them so that we can work on our relationship, not our instruction. Parents don't like to hear that.
You're like the footprints in the sand beside your kids up to a certain point, hoping that you inspired your children enough to then find the right group of people to keep those footprints for you.
We raised great human beings, and they're going to find other great human beings to come beside them. And they're going to ask hard questions of themselves. They are going to explore and they're going to grow based on who they surround themselves with. And I believe that God puts good people in people's lives to do that. I ain't all in it. Like, I'm just not. I am a somebody to my kids. I'm tight with all of my kids. Pete and I have great relationships with all of our kids, and our girls are married now, our sons-in-law. We have a blast together. But you know what? I'm not their greatest influence, and that's okay. I am exactly who they need me to be. They invite me into spaces. I don't go barging into places I'm not invited. And that can be a really hard boundary for any parent, but especially Christian parents, to respect. I mean, I'm just being honest, right? Like, we want to do it all. We want to be it all. And we got to let go and go, you're adults. You get to make independent decisions. I'm here for you. I've got you. I got you. I've got you.
Before I let you go, is there anything we didn't talk about or anything I didn't ask that you wanted to make sure got said?
It's just my heart to really help parents know that they can navigate faith beside their LGBTQ kids. And we do not have to be ashamed of our children.
Or yourself. You didn't fail as a parent.
Thank you. Okay, let me say this quick. I remember, because you feel that burden, like, what did I do? What didn't I say? What did I say? What should I have? And I carried a lot of weight for, like, clearly I did something wrong. And even when Connor was making these terrible decisions and really going down a dangerous path, I thought, we did something terribly wrong. But my daughter had a friend who, she's the kid who reaches into the places where people are struggling and brings them to our house. It's just, we can count on it. This kid had no reason to be successful, to show up at school, to show up at work, to be a light and a fun, not a believer, but just this kid who was nailing it. Zero support at home. I mean, he was adopted and then given up by the adoptive family and went to an uncle who was not even related to it. Was just a disaster of called his mom, the new mom who's not related at all. I'm at this party and people are drinking. I don't want to be here. Can you come get me? No, figure it out. The kid walked 10 miles home, like zero support. Okay. Nailing life. Has a job, doing great in school, involved in things, a soccer phenom at school. And I thought, what in the world? This kid has zero reason to be successful, and he's doing it. And his parents get no credit for what he is doing. Okay, so if a parent cannot take all the credit, conversely, we cannot take all the blame. Like, we're doing the best job we know how to do. I mean, yes, we know. We can blame his parents for a lot of stuff, right? But if your child is struggling, it's not necessarily because you're a failure. And if your child has been successful, it ain't everything that you did.
I'm curious, how many people have you helped with Promising?
We literally just launched. I've been doing this 10 years, a coffee cup at a time. So in that regard, hundreds of families, but one at a time. And I just became overwhelmed. Especially Connor and I did a lot of counseling a year and a half ago, and I found out a lot more stuff that I didn't know. And I was like, Connor, we have got to start helping people. We have got to start helping people. And so
is Connor part of Pride and Promises?
What's that?
Is Connor part of Pride and Promises?
He's not.
Oh, okay.
He is still struggling through some of he's like, Mom, I am so proud of you. I know you need to do this work. It's just hard for me because I'm still working through some of my own spiritual trauma.
Gotcha.
And so he is supportive from an arm's length away. But like I talk to him every day. He calls me every day. So we're tight. But right now he's like, I know that there's a place for me in it somewhere, but I'm not ready to go exactly to where you are because I'm still a little angry. And that's okay.
Thank you so much, Kim, for taking the time, speaking with me, for being so open and vulnerable, and speaking about your experiences, and of course for doing this kind of work and helping others. If you liked this episode, please rate and review, share, tell other people about it. You can follow me on my social medias, Bunny Hugs Podcast, or you can go to my website, bunnyhugspodcast.com, and there's all types of links and things on there. You could buy me a coffee, buy some merch, send me an email, whatever you want. It's all there. Thank you so much for everyone that is rating and reviewing, following me on my social medias and leaving comments and things. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I promise you there's more amazing guests and episodes coming up. Thank you to Carey for all the work you are doing for the podcast and me. It is so very much appreciated. Until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.
This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from. So whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.